Welcome back to my channel. I do apologize, I missed a week. No excuses, I just missed a week. Today I wanted to look at the Canon M50 just a little closer because I'm using that as my sort of backup travel go-to camera for, you know, things that are not really important shots. But I'm using my EOS R for those. One of the things that I do with the Canon M50 is that I use it as a vlogging tool. So when I'm out somewhere and I am talking to the camera, I'm usually holding the Canon M50 up on a small miniature tripod, and then I will put it on a travel tripod to sort of get pictures or video of me working around the other camera and the other tripod. What I also want to do is use it for time-lapse photography, so that when I am working outside, I can take some pictures somewhere downtown in an urban setting. It's not something that requires me to have a tripod, but then to set the Canon M50 up to do a time-lapse. Now, to do a time-lapse properly, I suppose, requires one to take a lot of pictures on a camera, pull it into some type of editing software, you know, get the settings just right. So this is what I did. I went downtown Chattanooga and I took a couple of sample time-lapse pictures or time-lapse video to compare the Canon M50 to the EOS R. So what I did with the EOS R, I had my intervalometer and I set it up to take one picture every second. And for 30 frames per second, for a 10-second video, that's 300 images. So I set it up where my exposure, I was doing it sort of right at sunrise. The sun had already come up a little bit. The light was starting to come up a little. I did it at 1/2 second shutter speed. So it would open the shutter for a 1/2 second, close, process the picture. After the other 1/2 second went by, take another picture. And I did that for 300 images. I pulled those into Lightroom. I edited one. I synced them across all 300. And then I exported them as JPEG files. I brought them into DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is kind enough to go ahead and recognize that it is a series of 300 images of the same thing, and it draws it in already as a 30 frames per second time-lapse video. So all I've got to do is just a little tweaking here and there if it's out of, you know, if it's out of alignment, whatever. So I did that, and downtown it looked like this. Now, after that, I took my Canon M50. Now, the Canon M50 does not have an intervalometer, so to do a time-lapse video, you can't do 1-second exposures for taking pictures. It has a time-lapse video option inside the camera, and I was concerned that it might be too jumpy, too fast, too jumbled, too whatever compared to all of the problems that I went through to get the 10 seconds. We're talking, you know, an hour of work to get a 10-second video. And so if we look inside the Canon M50, we'll see that time-lapse is an option, and by default, it is disabled. Anytime I turn the video off or turn the camera off, it comes up disabled on the next time. Once I have taken a video, it may also disable, but I don't remember. So when I come in and I enable it, it has 3 scenes. Now, the first scene is moving subjects like walking people, and the second scene is slowly changing subjects like clouds, and then there's a third one here for really slowly changing scenes. And so I chose scene number 2 for clouds. That's what I was going for. And when it comes up as a 5-second interval. And so I thought, okay, so that's not what I want. What I want is scene number 1, because that's what I did with my other camera. And so I did the time lapse of scene 1, where it takes a picture every second, and it automatically defaults to 300 images. Once it takes those 300 images, it processes the video inside the camera, and you don't have 300 images, you have a time-lapse video. You can go up to 900 images. So this will, on a 1 second, on a 1 image per second shutter speed, this will take a 30-second time lapse. Now, 30-second time lapse in a video like this is a long time, but taking a longer time lapse gives you some room to edit it down to the very best part. So I kept it at 300. The other thing that is available is an auto exposure feature, and I kept it at auto exposure on the first frame. So once it gets its auto exposure on the first frame, it stays there throughout, because I had pretty standard light for the 5 minutes it was going to shoot. What I have to do next is go out and do it maybe during a sunrise, because I do have an option to recalibrate the exposure every single frame. So it will automatically adjust everything going on in the picture. I did not do that in this test. But when I got done, I came back, I ran it through Lightroom to do a little quick edit. Yes, you can edit video in Lightroom, sort of. So I edited a little bit in Lightroom to give it a little contrast, take the highlights down, bring the shadows up just a little bit, adjust the color tone, get the hue of the clouds, adjust the hue of the blue so that the clouds showed up a little nicer. Just a few little odds and ends, and then I exported it, and it looked like this. So I think overall you can see that the difference between the two is very subtle, and let's just take a moment and look at those two videos side by side. So I have to say that overall, at least in continual light that's pretty even, I'm very happy with what the Canon M50 is doing on its own and saving me a ton of work afterwards. So I went down to the river next, and I just shot a quick time-lapse video comparing the two cameras again across the river to the aquarium, and I'll just put those side by side so that you can see how those worked as well. So take a look. The interesting thing about this video is the river is going one direction and the clouds are going the other direction, and that really sort of gives it an uneasy feeling. I don't know that I would use something like this. I did learn afterwards how to create this video where the water is slowed down and the clouds are still moving. I'll do that later. So the next thing I did was I went to get a cup of coffee. And I just set my camera up on its little tripod. Actually, it was this tripod right here. So I just set it up on the table in front of me, pointed it out to the crowd in front of me, and I set it for 900 images. And because I wanted to see how the battery does. The thing about the Canon M50 is that the battery absolutely sucks. And when you take video, the battery goes down even faster. So I was concerned. Well, it's actually not taking video, it's taking pictures. It's just processing the video at the end. So when I was done, after taking 900 shots, and it processed the video, I didn't see any degradation on the battery at all. It was still fully charged, which made me very, very happy. And so I pulled that again into Lightroom, did a few edits, turned it into black and white, and it looked like this. So, like I said, overall, I am very, very happy with how the Canon M50 is handling time-lapse video internally. And I don't feel like, once I figure out what's going on with a sunrise or a sunset, right now I don't feel like I have to do any of that work in my EOS R manually by taking images, editing the images, pulling them into DaVinci, creating a video, exporting the video. That's a lot of work, and it is for travel photography. If I'm out somewhere with my MacBook, that's a lot of horsepower that my MacBook may not have. So overall, I'm very pleased. And hopefully when I take some trips here soon, or if I'm going downtown to do some shooting, I'll add time lapse to the things that I can do with the video that I produce on the shots that I take. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did you like the EOS R better? Did you like the Canon M50 better? Was it a wash? What are you doing with time lapse if you're using them? We'll carry on the discussion. Thanks a lot for joining me on my channel, and we'll see you next time.